facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Good, beautiful day, beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. Just cannot wait to introduce you. It's amazing how many fascinating people I run across and attract right in my world. And Bethany Stone is one of those, and we're going to learn about mindset again and overcoming and hope and how we can work through these unsteady times in a powerful way. And I can't wait to introduce you to her. But first, we're going to do our little breathing exercise. We've got 22 seconds. We're going to breathe in some calm for 7, hold for 4, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So will you join me? Come on now. Here we go. Breathe in some calm. Hold. Release, relax. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We probably, especially this time of year, should do that multiple times a day, but here we are doing at least once a week with me, okay? So grateful that you are joining us here today, and I am so thrilled. I said yes to an intriguing opportunity, which is one of my sayings, and I joined the Change book series with Les Brown on the cover and as a forward. And when you do that, we get to be a part of a Facebook group and a mastermind that is off the charts. It's the best value I've probably run across in maybe ever. And it's a credibility factor. And so Bethany Stone is my guest today. I met her through this Change book series, and it's the fastest growing book series. And you're going to be in book 23.
Yeah, I will be in book 23. Yep,
and
that's going to be out in February.
Okay, so it's coming right up. So, but you get to be a part of the mastermind, and isn't that not the most brilliant thing ever, right? So
I feel like I learned so much. Like when you have people that have the same purpose and want the same things and the same drive, it's like the fire in the room just grows and you can feel it. It just is ignited, and I always walk away with a renewed hope of like, oh, I got this.
Yeah, no, and Britt and Jim Lutz, you don't even have your cover quite yet, do you? So these guys,
I don't, not yet.
Okay, so these guys, they start day one with coaching and one-on-one coaching, and they're brilliant. They're world-class, world-famous folks that take us in under their wing, right, and give us really basic. I'm always blown away about how simple their systems are and what they're offering. And it's always this basic stuff that we need reminding sometimes of, right? So
by human nature, we try to complicate everything because we're not okay with it actually being as simple as it is. It can't be that simple. So we overcomplicate it. And once we are so overwhelmed that we can't even process it anymore, all of a sudden someone is like, why?
Just do this.
Is all you need to do. And you just take a deep breath and go, oh, you're right. And go back to the basics. But we do this. Let's overcomplicate everything in our lives.
Truly, poster child. So okay, Bethany, you live in Idaho. I'm in Fort Worth. I just heard your son is coming down here, so I'll be a other mother for him. Anyway, tell us who you are in this world. Tell us where you came from. What is your passion here? And then we'll talk a little about what you do and how we can share that with humanity.
Okay. I grew up in a town of 1,000 people in a small farming town in Ashton. It's very small. And my parents are Swiss. So I grew up with a lot of culture. And Swiss people are known to be very, very determined. And I almost want to say that Swiss people are a little bit over prideful. Like they think that they are the best because they're Swiss. Like we have the best chocolate, we
I
have the
was going
best
to say
watches.
chocolate and pastries,
I
you know,
know.
it does work.
And it just like transpires like through these people. They can do anything because they have this sense, this self-worth of like, I can do anything. And my grandmothers are like this, my aunt is like this, and my dad came over and Swiss immigrant, American dream. We grew up in great poverty and he built an amazing company from nothing. And I see that and I see the determination. And at 17, I was a very, very determined child. At 17, I graduated early, decided I was going to be a teacher, went to school, became a teacher, was doing my internship really at 17, actually. I was doing my internship and moved away from home. I don't know if I would be okay with my children moving away at home at 17 because I look at them and I'm like, you are not ready. But I moved away at 17, did my internship, and presented, like, I created curriculum, presented at many conferences, educational conferences, and I really love to teach children. I don't know how not to teach. And I love to teach, well, adults too. I just love to teach. And any position I'm in, I always feel like I'm teaching. I teach ballroom dance currently and bungee fitness because my daughter is in ballroom dance. I'm like, well, I'm going to be there. And I'm a master mindset life coach now. I've taught education for 22 years and have shifted careers. I had a son. One of my sons got sick, which made it so I needed to be more available. So I shifted careers and I'm home more and I'm available to him. And now I'm a life coach and I have been really busy and I still have that same determination that I grew up with my culture and just that small town community. Just really, you can relate to people. And I just feel like I've carried that through everything that I've been and am.
And there's no lack of people to teach. So you have
No, there's
a full curriculum and an audience to speak to and mindset. Every single one of us needs, I'm a mindset person too. I mean, every single one of us. And when we don't think we have a problem with our mindset, that's when we probably really do. Just saying,
yeah. Well, and your
so
first client is always you. Like the first person you ever help is yourself in anything that you're doing. You always are helping yourself first. And I feel like I'm always helping myself. I'm very structured and very routine. And I know that if I don't do these things, I don't feel okay. I need to be fulfilled as, in my love box needs to be fulfilled. My social box needs to be fulfilled. My emotional box needs to be fulfilled. All these things need to be fulfilled. So I'm okay. And so mindset is not something that you ever just stop. It's something that you gain and you get the tools to do and you continue forever. Yeah.
yes, these thousands and tens of thousands and maybe more of personal development stuff that I have in the attic and the closets and, all over the shelves are, there's, you can't, you never get there. You just don't get there. And so when you have a personal development mindset and, to be a sponge that I want to do better, be better, how can I make myself heard? How can I make myself different? How can I make a difference in the world in a positive way? And so good for you. And I'm inspired by that upbringing. I mean, I know Swiss, there's a lot of, it seems like what are they, Scandinavian countries, so to speak, seem to have that, we're
I
going to do
know
it and
we
we're
can do anything.
stoic, and, we
I
can
know.
do
I
it.
don't even know what the word is. Just like the determination. I don't know if it's like in my DNA. It's like now engraven
Sounds
inside
like
of
it.
me. But it is just It just is. And it was funny because when my husband, when he started, I moved back home after my divorce to be with my parents, which was more stable, and we needed that environment. And I met my now husband, and he would come up to visit. And it was such a cultural experience to just come into my home. And because he is from Texas, he is just a USA boy, and to come to my home and just be immersed with an intense amount of culture, it just is the way it is. There's very strong traditions that are just the way it is. Every wall is covered in plates, like traditional plates, and it's a very traditional way of being brought up.
And it works. I mean, they've survived, and you've survived, and
You've done well.
there's nothing wrong with that. Culture
No.
is huge, and having the traditions. And I do want to step back to when your father came to the United States of America. There's not
Yeah.
another country that has the word dream after it. Not another country in the world that has the word dream after it. And even in these unsteady times in our country, people are still wanting to be having the opportunity. And it's amazing how many, I would say, legal immigrants, people that come here to do that, to get a better their life, tend to way outperform those my kids, for instance, that are raised in this. We got all this opportunity, but we got lazy. We haven't necessarily tapped into it in the way that would work. Does that make sense to your?
Yeah, it does. I think, it's almost like as children, when things are given to you, it doesn't have as much worth to it as when you work for something that you really, really want and you don't have enough money and you have to work and you have to save and save and save. And the satisfaction of finally buying that because you earned it is so much different.
And you earned it, but you also chose something that was of value to you. It's not like, oh yeah, I'll take that, or we're in this consumerism society that we never slow down to be still and know, like we just did in the breathing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take time to hear that inner still small voice, and then we get consumed with so much stuff.
Yes.
And entertainment. I talk about this a lot. I believe entertainment has risen to be the top value in our society, at least in the people I witness. And that's a sad thing to me, because you'll never become I mean, you think about back in the day when there was nothing but stars to look at, and, you had to forage for food. They really had their minds to listen to the still small voice, to the voice of God inside of them, or whatever that is, and create phenomenal things
Yeah.
that that we still live on.
Like being in education for so long, there were so many times, because I was a Montessori educator, and there's no technology in those classrooms purposefully, but the kids were actually going through withdrawals. So the kids that I would see at the beginning of my career, they were a much calmer child, and they could be engaged very easily. I gave a presentation I guess it's still this year. So in February, I gave a presentation at an educational conference, and it was called Engaging the Unengageable. And it was specifically talking right about this, because we have a problem where people are so overstimulated right now. And it's not just children. We are in an overstimulated society. And if we do not have that constant sense of stimulation, we don't feel okay. All of a sudden we have anxiety. All of a sudden we're depressed. All of a sudden, we just don't feel okay, and we just want to climb in our beds and we just want to scroll our phones. Now, we have done that to ourselves. We've done that to ourselves by overstimulating our brain and shooting neurons together that really don't need to be active all the time. And because that became our normal, now we just don't feel okay without having it. It's almost like we have to take everything that we've done with our brains and we have to completely reprogram them. And that's why, like, when I was deciding what I needed to do, for so many years, I've been asked before I even decided to do all of my mindset coaching certifications. I've been asked for years, are you a mindset coach? Are you a mindset coach? I'm like, I guess, I guess I should do this.
So I appreciate, I saw that you were Montessori, and my son will be 42 in January, my oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a Montessori school, and I loved that. Everything was their
Yeah.
size. They were anything they thought that they could try to do, that they were able to do it. I'll just give an example. One day at home, one morning, he would actually, he was like 2.5, 3 years old, and he had an alarm, and he would set, he'd get up, and he would sometimes get his own. I was a flight attendant. I was traveling and this and that, but and he was very self-sufficient. And when I remember one time he'd gotten his cereal bowl, put it on the chair, opened a box of cereal, poured it in there, got a full gallon of milk and opened it and poured it into, he was 3 years old at the most, somewhere in three, poured it into that cereal bowl and fixed his own breakfast. And then
Yeah.
he'd come get me up sometimes. I mean, so they instill that program, that mindset,
Yeah.
that way of teaching instills this. It's just what we do. This is how, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I loved that they, it was so great. And then my other two ended up going through some Montessori as well. Who knows when you start something, just saying, who knew that I would, because it was a half day program. Okay. That I would
Yeah.
end up having 11 years of half day programs with the other kids. And then I was like,
Yeah.
in and out. And then, in the 1 year where one had morning and one had afternoon, and I was like, oh my goodness. But you don't know that when you start something like that. But so the Montessori system is really phenomenal to me, and I was very, very happy to have found that, and it was close enough to my home to make it work for him.
The reason why it's done in that way is we are teaching them at a very, very young age how capable we are. Well, they are, because we forget how capable we are. And our society really wants to push down on how capable we are because it's easier to
Well, they
control
can't
incapable
control.
people.
They
Yes.
can't control us. Totally.
Yes.
This is such
But
a huge piece of it.
yeah, but if you instill at a young age how capable they are, and the other thing that the wordage that is used in a Montessori environment or even in a mindset environment is so different because everything is turned back towards the child. So, wow, you did that. You can do that. Wow, and so you're teaching them intrinsic motivation right away, which is so different than what the world teaches us. We are taught that we need to do this for that. We need to do that for that. These are the reasons why we have to do it for that. And
to get something else.
Yes. And we are teaching, you're doing this because it's the right thing to do. You're doing this because you want to. You're doing this because you know that it's going to better somebody else. You're doing this not because it's, you're going to get something. I mean, you do get something, but it's so much better than something that just fleets away so quickly than a monetary thing. You get growth.
If you'll clean your room, we'll go to the, play.
Yeah.
Go to the
and there's a
amusement
really
park
great article. I can't remember what psychology journal it's in, but it's called How I Landed Myself in Therapy. And it is a really great article about this woman. And she is so happy. She's always so happy. She goes through life just extremely happy, She gets all the participation awards, straight A student. She is a teacher pleaser. She is just great. She gets to college and she falls into a very, very deep depression. And she can't figure out why. And what happened is everyone stopped telling her good job. Everyone stopped telling her good job and giving her participation awards and getting recognized for this or for that, or you were the number one in the class or things like that. Because as soon as you're in college, all of a sudden you're not getting participation awards. And she realized that she was doing everything for extrinsic motivation all the time. And that's why that's one of the large reasons why we have so much depression and anxiety with these kids that are going into college, because they come from this very, very overly bearing society of good job, good job, good job, good job. You are the best. Here's your orchestra award. Here is this. You did so good at this and this and this. Here's college. And there's no more. And all of a sudden they don't know what to do with themselves. And they're like, why? Why am I sad? Because they forgot to do it for themselves. They forgot to do it for themselves. And because they forgot to do it for themselves, it doesn't matter.
It's a huge point you're making. It's a huge point. And at instant gratification, instant, you good boy, good kid, you did good.
Yeah.
Instead of, man, I bet that feels good. I bet that felt good to pick up that trash, right? And so
or you're playing violin because you love it. You may not get an award. And guess what? If you want to continue violin and you can't get into the college music orchestra, that's okay. If it's something you love, you keep doing it. You're finding satisfaction within yourself, not because somebody else is telling you good job.
Yeah, this is an incredible needed conversation because I witness it so much.
Yes.
So getting my son, the same son, when he was 6 years old, he came home and he's going, he was in swim team and he was in gymnastics. And he said, Mom, can you believe in just my small speck of a life, I've gotten all these trophies? Literally use that word at 6 years old, my small speck of a life.
So cute.
And I'm like, what? Where did that come from? And it was cute, but he was doing, we wanted him to experience everything. And I would not recommend that anymore. Cause it's not duplicatable if you have more than one kid and in an easy way. But, but he recognized, he's getting these trophies, but and I'm guessing now looking back, what you're saying, they were probably mostly participation trophies, but they did, in the swim team, they had first, second, and third. I mean, you want the competition, so to speak, but you don't want it to be only that. You want to do it because
you want them to do it because they like it. As soon as swimming isn't fun anymore, why keep swimming? You want to follow the child, or even follow what your needs are. And my needs change as an adult. For a long time, I was only dancing. Now I'm dancing and running, I can't just dance. Can't just dance. Even though I like to dance, it's not what I want to do. I found that I love running a lot more.
And don't you do some biking and hiking? You guys are outdoor people, according to what I saw. Y'all are like,
yeah, we are. We go on some pretty epic mountain backpacking trips, and I look forward to the snow melting and getting up in those mountains. And it is one of the hardest and most rewarding things you can do, just because your body, number one, you have a 20-pound pack. I sometimes pack a little heavier. I am trying to be a lighter packer, but I feel like I really want a good sleeping pad. And, you are hiking up these really steep mountains. I mean, literal mountains. And you go from, 5,000 feet to 12,000. And it gets hard, not just because you have lack of oxygen, which, it happens, your body is strained because you have lack of oxygen, because of the weight that you've been carrying for hours, and because the incline is just so much. And the terrain is not easy. And you just keep going and keep going. And it sounds right now, I mean, I'm listening to myself. This sounds terrible. But as you're stepping, and when I'm at my wit's end and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, I just keep saying, you know what? One more step, just one more step. And when you get to that top and you get to look over the top of all the mountains and look down into the valleys and just see the most beautiful things you've ever seen, um, it's almost the amount of dopamine you get is amazing. You just feel so fulfilled and so light, not just because you put that pack down, but it's almost like all your burdens are gone. And I kind of think like that's kind of how, life is hard and we don't know till we reach the top. And then it seems like we can look down and be like, I did that. I'm cool.
It's you against the elements. So what you've done is,
Always.
yeah, and it's a
Hmm.
mindset. I can do this one more step. And you look
Yeah.
at people that, the overcomers in prisoners of war and all those things that are just
Yeah.
incredible stories. There's no lack of those stories. But when you reach the pinnacle, when you reach the top, you've done it and you're like, and I would think, I'm guessing, and I've not done what you just talked about in that extreme, but you get there and it feels like you're closer to God. It feels like I mean, you are closer to God physically, right? I mean,
Yes.
I really God's in here too, but
No,
you
but
feel
the
like
sense of
the
peace and
sense.
fulfillment you feel is uncomparable because you accomplished something hard. You don't have to climb a mountain to experience that, though. You just
People
have
running
to be able,
marathons too, or
oh
just
no,
completing their book or whatever it happens
yeah.
to be that
It's any challenge in your life. When you're done, if you take a moment to recognize it, you will get that sense of accomplishment and that intrinsic motivation. And to recognize that and to recognize that feeling so that every single time you have that feeling, you can have that sense of gratitude for it, just brings you to that next level. And it makes you want to accomplish more for yourself, not for other people.
I love that. Where when you and this is a thing, I know that it's been something I've not done well, is celebrate even small
Yeah.
things, but celebrate completion. It's like, oh, it's just what I did and I finished it and now I'm going to do this. And, so often
Hmm.
has been my life, of not really anchoring those wins. And I think that that's a little key piece that we can, what you're talking about, realization that you totally,
Yeah.
totally did something. And it's not, years and years ago, I was a flight attendant for 34 years. I retired 17 years ago, maybe. And
Hmm.
I was in a class with, I think it was an NLP class, something like that, where I was like, and he came to me at lunch, the teacher, and there was about a dozen of us there. And he said, I think I've heard you say, oh, I was just a flight attendant a dozen times this morning. If I ever hear you say that again, you're out of here, whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, huh. I just did what I did, right? But I was an international coordinator. I was an award-winning flight attendant. I carried the Olympic torch for I won all these, things that you
Wow.
don't think about flight attendants winning. But and I could get you out of an airplane in 90 seconds flat, and I commuted and I worked max hours in the mission trip mom, and I was doing all this stuff, but I didn't have a degree, so I was just a flight attendant. That was my mindset back then. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I shifted that one thing because I was an international flight attendant that did all this stuff. I can do anything, right?
Yes.
So it's
100%. You can do
it took
anything.
a so my second book is Split Second Transformation: Change Your Words, Change Your Life. 31 daily practices. Every word
Nice.
matters. Every word
Hmm.
matters. And when you can split second transformation, you can literally shift your world in one split second. And that's an example of when I did it multiple times. Get a oh, when you recognize it. So recognizing the wins that you have and acknowledging them. And I think it's Sarah Van Brethnack, or however you say her name, that wrote the Simple Abundance. Love that. She said in one of her chapters, she's like, I had done all this stuff. I mean, major stuff, covered, magazines. And she said, but you walk in my house, there wasn't one speck of evidence of any of it. Oh, we didn't want to do self-promotion. Right. So then she was found a wall or wall of fame or whatever you wanted to do and so I have my Olympic torch. It used to be up here behind the screen. Now it's downstairs in my living room. Got it. I mean, that's a thing, and
that's amazing.
And so when we don't want to be self-promoting, but if we don't promote ourselves or at least acknowledge our stuff, nobody else is going to do it.
I know. Because we are amazing and we have to understand that we are amazing. And we have to be okay with us being amazing, because I think that's one of my struggles is I don't like to put myself out there too much. But if someone asks me, I'm totally fine. I can tell you everything. But
self-promotion, we're talking about self-promotion. We don't want self-promotion. Yeah. We don't want to appear to be arrogant or what's the word? You're so self-promoting is one way of saying it, but is boastful. We don't want any of that. And when we can go, it's not about arrogance. It's about authority. It's the authority factor, right? We have an authority that we actually literally have evidence of. So, I've seen some certificates behind you. Why not? We've done the work. It's not boastful. This is part of who I am, and I can help you with that.
I've done all these things. Yep.
So I think this is a big conversation that we don't typically hear very much. I don't, it took me, I'm still not really very good at it. I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote this book. Oh, it's bestseller. I wrote this, I mean, it's like, it's just what I do.
I think it's intimidating.
What we do.
It's intimidating, like for us to promote ourselves because we have fear. Like the bottom line is, even though we feel good about these things and we can acknowledge that we've done these things, to put it out there though, there is the base of all of this is fear, is rejection. So what if I put all these things out there and nobody likes me? Nobody buys one copy of my book. Nobody ever even acknowledges anything. I just put this out there. Well, okay. Is that the worst thing that can happen? Because those aren't really bad things.
It's just what's so. When you deal with what's so, right? You feel and things like words that we heard as a child, don't get too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? Those kind of things. And did I get too big for my britches? Because I did this nice thing, and I don't know. We get silly about it, but I don't think it's a silly concept.
I guess we just all need to get bigger britches.
Well, some of us do, that too.
Yeah. It's
what are you doing now? I want to ask. So let's get we're going to spell your name, because the vast majority of people that will listen to this will listen on audio, not video. So spell your name, spell your website. Let's just remember to do that before we get too far along. And so because there's different ways of spelling everything.
So my name is spelled Bethany, Bethany. And then my email address is bethany@thrivingbynature.com. And Thriving by Nature is spelled THRIVINGBYNATURE. And
that's your website. Yeah, that's your website.
Yep, that's my website as well. So my
And where did you
website is
come up with
also,
that?
because I feel like everyone has the ability to thrive within themselves. It's part of our human nature. It is our God-given right to be able to thrive. God did not put us on this earth to have us fail. And I think that we just need to realize that it is our nature to thrive and to be able to discover that. And if we can discover how we can thrive, and that's all I do is help you to discover that. Is what you need to support you to be able to thrive in the aspects of your life where you feel like you are lacking. That's what I do.
So how are you marketing that? How are you getting the word
You
out?
can
You've
go
got a
to my website.
podcast.
I do have a little podcast. And I actually, on the first couple of ones of my podcast, I didn't even say my website or anything because of that fear that we just got done discussing. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put all my information at the end. And you know how they do on podcasts. And so, and I am not big, but my podcast is called Thriving by Nature and it is on Spotify by Bethany Stone. And at the end of my podcast, I do tell you my website, thrivingbynature.com. And on my website, you can actually there's a free download on my website for a free PDF on why you might feel stuck and how to get out of that. And you can download that free PDF and then you can actually book a free strategy call with me through there. And everything's on my website. I have a Facebook page, Thriving by Nature. Everything is Thriving by Nature, and also an Instagram. And currently, I'm busy with family and I'm working with individual clients and I'm preparing. I'm speaking at the AI Summit the January 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. And so I'm preparing that. I was working on that. And
And
that's kind of what
where's
I've been
that
doing.
held? Where's the AI summit held?
That one is going to be an online summit.
Okay. Wow.
So I'll be presenting online and on my Facebook page and on my Instagram page, I'll put information on there so that if you were interested in it, you can sign up to go to the summit. I think it to be a really great summit. I'm not an AI marketing person, but I'm there because I'm teaching and talking about organization in your personal life and in your professional life and how that can really like boost every aspect of your life forward. So that's what I will be speaking about.
That organization key right now when you have a time of chaos in your world, in your life. And it takes, and so as you're speaking about that, a lot of us have, I mean, I've got a lot of chaos on my own home, and this year has got crazy. And, when you stop to go clean out the attic or clean out the garage or pick up the papers that you had emptied out of a desk that had to get moved or whatever it is, you can't, you stop forward motion. You stop forward motion to stop, to look back, to go through stuff that has to be gone through. And I think that's why it gets pushed aside and waited. And, because I've got this to do and this to do and this to do, but to stop, to go through all that old stuff. And so one of my things I made up a long time ago, I had my kids, I had a saying of the month, and I put sticky notes long before internet, put sticky notes around, and like, it's like it's easier to keep up than to catch up is one of them. And I feel like that is a huge thing. If you will wipe up every day on let's go in your bathroom, you wipe up the counters every single day, and once a week you scrub the toilet, you'll never have to do a deep cleaning. You might, a little bit deeper now every once a month or whatever, but if you keep up
the maintenance,
you don't have to catch up and then to keep up. So
I think when it talks about organizing, when you are talking about any type of organizing, this is for anything. You always make more of a mess before you can actually clean it. That is the truth.
It gets worse before it gets better.
It always gets worse before it gets better. And you have to know that when you are in the thick of it and you have just now exploded everything to even see what you had, you cannot walk away. That is your tipping point of, okay, now, am I going to push through this or am I going to walk away and let this win? So you have to decide at that point when you have exploded everything, what you're going to do. Because a lot of people, as soon as they're like, I'm going to organize, and then they get to that point of you make more of a mess before it can actually get better, they'll walk away. I can't do this. It's overwhelming. And if you do that, then the stuff or your chaos in your life, whatever it is, won.
And it's worse then, right? So then,
and it continues to build. You have to break it up in a way that you can. And when you reach that tipping point, you set a timer. If it's stuff, you set a timer, 10 minutes. Okay, I am not going to look at anything here. I'm just going to work on this pile of papers for 10 minutes. Or if it's a chaos like a pantry or your desk or whatever, you're going to look at one item, and the first item you see, you're like, okay, I'm going to put all like items like this that I can see right now together. I'm going to play Mahjong in real life. This is what I'm doing. And, change it. Be like, okay, 10 minutes. I'm going to go get a drink. I'm going to come back. Okay, 10 minutes. All right, I'm going to go do something and come back 10 minutes. You are able to push through that and you overcame it and you won. You didn't let chaos win. You overcame chaos.
But keep that timer going, especially when you were the one when you go to get the drink, right?
The timer is so good. Like having a timer is so good. Having water bottles are so good because it's like, all right, well, I can't take a break until I'm done drinking all my water. So if I want to take a break, I'm going to sip. It's hard to drink an entire water bottle, so drink, 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 work, 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 drink, drink, drink. Okay, my break is filling up my water bottle,
And honestly, I think 10 minutes may be it, but I'm going to guess 20 minutes is probably a better.
20 minutes is good, but you build up.
Yeah, mm-hmm. What 5 minutes is better than no minutes. So, so I'm just, I'm talking to me. I've got so much, and I know that when I've got so many things to catch up on, it's hard to be creative, right? It's harder to be creative in the chaos. So then
any progress is better than no progress. So movement is better than being stagnant. So just
take that first step and turn on. Yeah. So, and these are little things, but they're big things for people. For me, sometimes, okay, my timer is on my phone, so I'm going to hit the repeat. Oh, but there's a message.
Yeah.
So it might be better to have external
timers off your phone. So many distractions, so many things pulling us away from things that we should be doing. So, and things that hold us accountable. Like we have to hold ourselves accountable as adults. We're like, now we have to be accountable,
You're a big person now. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So we've got the last few minutes here. It goes fast every single week. It's amazing. And I want you to share what is most important to you. What do you want people to know? How do you want to make a difference for people? And how is that in a succinct world? And what would your ideal person be listening for?
I want people to know that they don't have to be okay with not being okay. Like, yes, be okay with not being okay, but if you're really in a hard spot and you really think that you have some thinking fallacies or you just find yourself always in this vicious cycle, a lot of the times I'll talk about a vicious cycle. If you find yourself always in this vicious cycle and you want to finally break that loop, you can book a free call with me and I will help set up a strategy for you to get out of that vicious cycle. Because my main goal, like even as an educator for so long, I want to see people thrive in a way that they will never have to seek that help again. They will be able to have the tools to be able to, why am I doing this? Okay, go back to my toolbox. These are the things I have. Okay, this is how I fix this. We are so much more capable than what we think. We just need to be given the tools and the education to be able to pull out those tools when we need them, to realize that I'm having a hard time with this. Why am I having this struggle in my life? Go to your toolbox, pull it out. Okay, I can fix that. That is what I want people to be able to do. I want everyone to be able to have that toolbox with them to be able to pull out what they need so that they can really thrive in their own lives.
I love the analogy of the toolbox. I had it's complicated with relationships, but I had a couple of young kids, grandkids, step grandkids, or whatever they were, wonderful kids staying with me for a little bit. And I was giving them all kinds of tools. And I would say, nobody can hurt your feelings without your permission.
Yeah.
Nobody can make you angry without your permission. And by the way, bullies are victims too. What if you gave them grace and empathy rather than getting offended? And I don't ever mean take abuse, but the mindset, the perspective that why wonder what's going on in their world, right? That would cause them to be treating someone else like that. They don't love themselves enough. So I gave them a whole list of the tools that they could use. Put an eggshell around yourself or step into a big Ziploc so it can bounce off of you instead of receiving it. It was just one of them. But I think that toolbox is a really great analogy. And okay, yeah, oh, I need a screwdriver now, whatever.
Yeah.
And so one of your tools, I'm going to just go back into this because we haven't really discussed, is your amazing journaling. And I listened to your very short video or podcast about journaling, and I was like, I go through phases where and this things that gets us so distracted sometimes. I want a journal, but it needs to be a really pretty journal. It needs to be written really nice, and it needs to be so you never get to it because it's not I need the exact right notebook to make these notes, and then oh my gosh, I've missed a few days.
Yeah.
So you want to address that really quick. And I know you have some amazing journals that do self-mastery of all these concepts. So let's talk about that as we wind up.
Okay, so I keep a commonplace book. This is my current commonplace book. I don't keep a journal.
Mention that again. Commonplace book.
It's called the Commonplace Book. So I have a commonplace book, and it is everything. It is not beautiful. It is just a book. And I actually just bought 2 more because I'm going to be filling this up very soon. You do not have to keep a journal in the way that sometimes I think we're trained to keep journals. Like it needs to be beautiful. You need to have all these pictures. You need to draw little doodlies. You need to have things structured. You need to put the dates. It doesn't need to be that. What you need to do is you need to release all of the things that are in your mind and just put them down. So in my commonplace book, it's everything. The only rule I have is that I have to put the date regardless of when I write. So, I mean, yesterday I was writing in it, I wrote the date, and I literally just was making Christmas lists in my commonplace book. And then I wrote something else. And then I also wrote, don't forget that I need to get these things and these things for Christmas cookies. That's what I wrote yesterday. I didn't write journal things. I wrote, but it kind of is, this is what's happening in my life on this date. And then, today I got on in my commonplace book, and I was like, these are all the things I'm doing. I need to make sure I do this. Oh, you know what? This thought, I've been thinking about my son. This is something I've been thinking about. I want to address this with him. I write it all down. Or I'll write recipes I've tried. Or I'll write everything. Everything goes in here. And it's so nice because I can just refer to it whenever I need to. I can look at the date, be like, oh, yeah, okay, this was, in September. I can go back. Oh, I remember I needed to do something in September. I need to find those notes. Or I was at that meeting in September. Oh, here's all the notes. I bring this to my meetings. I bring this to everything. My everything is in there. It's my brain. And then I put it up on the shelf and I get a new one.
I and that honestly, it'll be a treasure for your family. And they're going, "Oh my gosh, what was that recipe? I wonder if it's in her commonplace book." And I love that you shifted the name from, you know, journal. And I was
Journaling.
like, I've got to have a gratitude journal and I have to have a to-do list journal and I have to have and we get Charla, gets so bogged down into the which way do I go that I don't do any of it, and then so much gets lost in the shuffle. We don't
Yeah, we don't have to
remember.
have multiple books. We just have to have one.
I think
Anyway,
that is as brilliant as anything I've heard. So thank you for that.
the other thing that I've done is because if you just want to learn a certain skill, I've also created these guided journals. And so these guided journals are called mindful moments. I had my cousin actually is a graphic designer. And so I just contacted her. I give her all the content and she just puts it all together and makes it so beautiful. Anyways, and so there's different topics like meditation, patience, persistence, organization, self-care, and you can just order one and then it just kind of goes through. You have a little place to journal, a mood tracker, you have coloring pages, and every week you have a little lesson on what the topic is. So if you're just trying to learn how to do these things, this is a great way to start. And this one is all about learning meditation and the skills behind meditation and how to do that.
And the reason, and so those are really 30-day journals, right? They're the monthly.
Yep, they are 30 days.
And
Yep.
that's kind of hey, what about good Christmas gifts, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
to offer, somebody, you know, you love, you said
Yeah.
persistence. Well, you've listed a bunch of them, but meditation and
Uh-huh.
consistency, so you've got 1 month you can learn a new skill if you don't have the financial means, or if you want to do a joint
Exactly.
thing, you can literally self-teach yourself, and those QR codes that you put in there will take you back to an audio or another
A
learning
podcast or something like
podcast or
that.
a piece of
A
or
YouTube
article or
video so that you
whatever.
can learn those things. Yeah.
So
They have been really great.
very well
And
received, I can imagine. And
yeah,
what is about the cost of one of the monthly ones?
so if you just want the journal, it's $30. So these are only 30, which I think is a great investment for a skill that you can learn. And you can actually go to Mindful Moments on Facebook and you can order them through the Facebook page on there, or you can contact me. Um, if you schedule a call with me and you mention that you heard it from this show, then I will send you a free PDF of the meditation one. So,
Nice. Thank you.
yeah,
That's generous though. That's a great offer. So thank you so much.
you're
Well, any
welcome.
final words? We're shutting her down, and like I said, I keep thinking I'm going to just do 30 minutes, but I can't. We get so
It's
much going
okay.
and so much fun, and
Yeah,
I so much learning. I mean, I learn so much every week from these fascinating people, and everyone's fascinating, and I'm collecting more and more every week of these people. Many of the people from the Change book we talked about. So,
yeah.
um, if
Everyone I've
anybody
met has been amazing. So,
Everybody. Everybody. I've had
everyone.
probably six or seven, and I've got two or three more, I think, scheduled already from the Change. I mean, that's where I'm getting a pool of guests because they're brilliant.
Yeah,
They're
they're so fun.
brilliant and so they're diverse, but such a common make a difference in our world people. So yeah, it's great, 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 great. So last words. We gotta shut her down.
Last words. To remember that the things that you do today will change your tomorrow. So always make sure that you're aware of what you're doing today. And if you don't like what happened today, then change it.
Where you are is all, this is the way I say it. Where you are is all you have right this second. Yeah. You don't have any other place to be than where you have ended up right this second. You can't change any of that. You can't change 1 second of your past. You can only change. If you don't like where you are right this second, you can make a different choice. Your next step can be a different word, a different direction, and start a path right now, today, in your world. You can change your next step. You can change. You don't have to stay in your status quo if you aren't happy.
No. And every day is a new day and a new chance. Every day.
Every minute of every day. But truly, if you're in the gutter, you are loved. This is one way I say it. God loves you. And if he created you in his image, and he loves you. And if you're in the gutter or in the castle, you are provided for. You have been provided for up until, if you can take a breath, the I am in you. If you can take a breath, then you have been provided for.
Yeah. We're out of time, but there's a really awesome song I used to teach kids about breathing. I don't know. Do I have enough time to sing it to you?
You got 2 minutes till we're
perfect. Okay. So this is a song that I still remember and I will sing. Sometimes for myself, but it goes. Give yourself a bear hug because you're strong. Give yourself a bear hug because you're brave. Give yourself a bear hug because you're important. Give yourself a bear hug every day. Breathe in and breathe out. Hold your breath and let it out. Give yourself a bear hug because you're strong. Give yourself a bear hug because you're brave. Give yourself a bear hug every day. And so when I think about those things, you remember how important you are. And you remember to breathe and take that moment.
Thank you for that. That's beautiful. And if you don't mind, if you'll send me the words or some way so I can put it in the blog post of the
I'll send
podcast.
you I will.
That would be awesome. Well, thank you, Bethany. It's been really, really amazing. I love hearing from you. I'm grateful. I'm inspired by you and your determination family, the Swiss. I love Zurich. I've been, I love, as a flight attendant, I would spend time there. My second son fell down Mount Titlis and broke his stuff while he was on a tour over there. And I was like, what do you do? But broke a tooth and I think his arm. Anyway, it's a long time ago, but wow. Yeah. So we've had some experience in Switzerland, just a bit. But thank you. I appreciate you, and we will be in touch. And I will, as I always tend to do, is in my show with and always just choose joy.
Thank you so much.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.